Well, the battles in Field of Glory 2, they're like super in depth. Like units will get engaged into melee, and then they roll dice to see how many casualties and morale damage they inflict. And then like there's like a whole like skirmish shock phase, but that's played out like an actual like war game. It's super super fun. Sorry, I think I'm finally live after the bit of chaos.
Nice. Yeah, well, welcome, Potato. Welcome, Potato friends.
Yes.
We are
Alright,
watching
so
this
let's
reveal.
talk about trade maybe. So what can you tell us about trade if you were kind of...
So trade is one of the areas where we've really listened to player feedback from Empires, and one thing that didn't really make sense.
So I guess this is
Empires.
I think this is
sort of
Kingdoms.
like the sequel to Empires, I suppose.
Correct.
So I guess the first one was Field of Glory Empires, which also had Fields of Glory, the battle game, right? And then this one is Field of Glory Kingdoms, which has Field of Glory 2 as the battle game. So they do this thing where they have like, so that
Their games interconnect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, it's super super fun. I think Empires was based in Roman times. I think this one's based in like medieval Europe, right? I think I see like the Polish.
It looks like it would be, yeah.
Right, it's 1054. So it's the, you know.
Oh shit! It's 1066.
Yeah.
It's like the fresh kingdom of England. Wait, Ireland
Yeah,
is
same as the like we're gonna keep doing the comparison because we played it a lot, but it's like the Crusader Kings 3, right? Like where there's
You started
that age is popular.
Yeah. You started like roughly the time frame of the Vikings invasion of the Kingdom of England.
Yeah.
Yes, there's Jorvik up
Well,
there.
the kingdoms of England, actually.
Yeah,
but
exactly. Yeah.
True.
it wasn't England yet.
I definitely, so from what I remember, like the building system in this game is super in depth. Like there's so, like, you know, like Crusader Kings, it's like you click on a province and you build a building like once every like 10 years because you saved up money. In this game, like you're doing it every turn. You're like developing your economy.
Well,
Okay, so it is
like
turn-based.
building a cemetery. Oh yeah, is it? Yeah, because it actually does say turn 1 at the top, I guess. So it's not time passing like in CK. It's more like you have X amount of moves.
It's more like your typical 4X game. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
Perfect timing. We're looking at the
Anchorage gives you net income, siege resist, etc., and then you have the can be upgrade to harbor. Okay, this looks pretty in depth. Yeah, how much you build up your stuff.
Produce food, buildings that deal with infrastructure, which sort of means what it means, but means health as well. We have commercial buildings in the yellow. The red is for military buildings. We have religious buildings, and then the last category, the bottom right there, is stewardship, Stewardship is like a local version of authority.
So this is moving troops from the like the base to the army, I guess. That's what it's doing right now.
Yeah.
No, he's like, oh yeah, he's moving. Those are like your workers. He's moving them from tile to tile.
Oh, I see. So you like decide what they should work on and stuff.
What you want to focus on at what particular point. Okay.
Yeah, usually the color like informs you. Like green is food, pink is infrastructure, which is production. Yellow is money, stuff like that. Red is.
I imagine it's just the same color as the things above it, right? So yellow money, brown manpower, red equipment, piety orange. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's so many different buildings.
So do the little workers have specialties that they're better at then?
Kind of. You can have like a province, and it's like, okay, like 10 of the population in this 20 population province, they're like Irish Catholics. But let's say you take a few slaves, or then they'll be like Anglo-Saxon Protestants, and they won't be as productive as your like Irish Catholics because they're like oppressed, if you get me. So there's like a whole culture and religion system that's like baked in. At least in the original Empires game, I think.
Composition doesn't change so much. The social.
I imagine this probably has a lot of similarities from that one, given it seems to have a lot of things that make sense.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. You're not going to have 20 peasants or becoming priests just by going to church every Sunday. Population does grow over time. It grows pretty slowly unless you focus on it. And population, what we've done with the UI, you can see the global resources at the top. So manpower, money, metal, the three M's are all there up at the top. population is very much one of those.
You choose the types of
Interestingly-
commodities you want as well.
Work in these
Yeah.
buildings, there's nobody to build these
I
buildings.
think it's cool that
To build even
Fields of
a
Glory
simple
2
farm
is
if you
now
don't
free to
have
play,
relevant population.
which means that if you get this
If you
game
assign nobles
and you
to,
play it and you enjoy it, and you
particular
want to
military
do the
buildings,
battles because of the
it's
integration,
great to,
you don't then have to buy another game because that game is already free. I think that's nice.
We'll come back to that later. The cost of producing military matters, assigning nobles there makes a real difference. They're a very valuable resource. We can see here we don't have very many people. We don't have anybody working in agriculture, and we're all going for infrastructure instead. So that can be quite unbalanced.
I'm seeing quite a few cool things there. First off, I really love how many trade goods there are. Like it's really.
Yeah, we've done a lot of work on an awful lot of items.
Clicking around and looking at Field of Glory, and
can't remember how many
it's
trade
looking
goods
pretty
we've got,
total
but
war, like in how the game looks when you fight.
It feels like a hybrid between like your Crusader Kings, your Total War, and like your Civ, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
the fact that it's time-based, you know.
in Sahara or anything like that.
I mean,
We
turn-based
have,
rather
I
than.
think, 400
Turn-based,
buildings or
like with
something like
the more
that.
in-depth
It's
like
affected
social
by
structures
many
of
things.
um,
Eastern nations will have a very different
Crusader Kings.
Yeah.
building technique
Mhm.
compared to Western nations.
One thing I loved.
This is really in depth.
Yeah, because it was cool because you could like import resources between different provinces, and then buildings could be dependent on that. But then you lose access to the resource, like producing coal, and now your whole coal production chain is messed up, and you got to import that from a different empire. But maybe you're not friends with them.
Crazy like that. 90 different forms of government in the game, and that defines a lot of what buildings are available to you. But
90 different forms of
what
government.
works those buildings bring
Yeah,
and so on and so
that's
forth.
crazy. I saw that on the Steam
Yes, we
page.
need a lot of buildings. It's been a lot of
90
work
cultural
going into
traits
these,
as well. Like, I guess that counts. Maybe that's the same thing they mean. The cultural traits is roughly like the type of kingdoms. Because the actual factions, they're 375. So.
Also, I want to mention actually many grand strategy games of setting this era don't really represent population as a unit, or rather, as a resource. So I really think it's very cool to have population tied to both the economy as well as warfare.
Yes, I mean it's obviously it's abstracted. You're not managing 10,000 units or anything like that, but it's definitely one of the. I mean, there are very many tensions in the game. There are so many trade-offs you have to make at every level, and to managing population rather than just having one big resource and needing 25 people to work in a sawmill. It definitely becomes much more of a. There's always a balance to be made. Always a balance to be made in terms of who's doing what and what regions within your kingdom are going to be doing what and
Makes sense.
what you.
Oh, that's a cool idea. You could like specialize like sub-regions of your empire. Like this is the breadbasket. This is like the military area, right?
Yeah, I guess you want to specialize in specific areas rather than having a little bit of everything, a little bit of.
I wonder if there's going to be things like certain regions are just more fertile or whatever. You know, so that
like
would be.
if there's like base stats based on terrain, you know, like if you
Yeah.
go to, the north of England is, I don't know, it's super rainy, so therefore bad for military or something. I don't know, like something like that. So you
But
have
it's
to
also
make
really
those
hard to
decisions.
attack because it's all like hilly and
Yeah,
mountainy.
yeah, maybe something like that. Yeah.
The level of piety of each country.
Thank you, Grady, for
We
the
also have
sub.
a very nice
Appreciate
little
it.
map now because we have 5 holy cities in the game, and who
That's cool.
Rome, Constantinople, Jerusalem, Medina, and Mecca. And obviously, who controls those cities?
5 holy cities.
Will control how the papacy feels about an awful lot, about how your Muslim neighbours feel about you.
So,
on and so
which
forth.
holy city would be for what religion?
Is a constant source of
Jerusalem would be for,
strife and division.
Christianity, I'd imagine. But then
Well, I
again,
think
isn't that
Jerusalem
also
would be
for-
all three, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so.
It would be.
Because some holy cities are shared, I think, between religions. Because isn't
They
there
are.
like
That makes
that?
sense. Yeah.
Isn't there like
'Cause they all
that
started from a
temple
different place.
in I feel like there's a temple in Jerusalem where like there's like a ladder beneath a window that is not allowed to be moved because in order to do anything to the temple, all of like the religious leaders need to sign off on it. It's just been there for like 400
Wow.
years.
That's pretty hilarious.
I would imagine Jerusalem is shared, and then probably Medina and Mecca are maybe like Islam, and then Rome, Constantinople,
Yeah.
and Jerusalem are like the Christian ones.
Christianity, Judaism.
in empires was something
Yeah.
that we thought up long after it released.
I hope they have a country that is Jewish, because one of my favorite things to do in these games is to play like a Jewish nation and try to like take the underdog to be a real country. It's kind of like playing Ulm in EU4. You just take this tiny little German prince nation and make it into like this giga alliance.
Yeah, I mean, once you're good enough at the game, or if you put it at the neat enough difficulty, that always is something that I think is pretty cool. You have like the smallest thing, and just all of a sudden, like, yes, Sweden now rules the world, or whatever, you know, that sort of thing.
Yes, Sverige
That is not how it's pronounced, but I appreciate the attempt.
How do you say it?
Sverige. So there's an I in
Sverige.
between. So Sverige.
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 Sverige Stronke.
Yeah, Stronke. Yeah. Stark. It's ST. It's like Stark. In strong.
Sverige Starke.
Yeah, there you go. So, yeah, more or less. Yeah. We'll let that is good enough. I'm not going to correct you anymore. That's fine.
Sverige Stark.
We'll stick with that.
Sverige Stark sounds like the forgotten stepchild of the Stark family.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, Arya Stark? No, Sverige Stark. I see. Okay, yeah.
Very few exceptions. Probably the Italian maritime republics.
That reminds me. I didn't play a ton of Crusader Kings 2. I desperately tried to get into it a lot of times, and I just couldn't. It didn't really fit with me. But whenever I tried playing the Game of Thrones mod, because that I thought was super interesting. Just like taking, like at the start of the adventure, saying like, I'm gonna play as Renly, and I'm gonna goddamn win. I'm gonna take everyone, and I'm gonna win. And I'm not gonna die or whatever.
I always play these.
Like there's a mod for that for CK3 as well, but meaning to play, and which makes me wonder like if this is gonna be like open to mods and stuff as well. I hope it is, because I always think that helps games in general.
Modding is always great. I always play these types of games the same way as I think a lot of people do. I pick my home country and I try to make it a world power.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Play the Netherlands and I try to become just the dominating force in the world.
100%. I do that too. Literally every map painting game, I click on Ireland and I try to take over the world.
Yep, that's pretty much it.
But wait, so like here's a question: do you like go after the quote-unquote historical rivals? Because always in my Ireland games, I feel like the victory condition is England no longer exists.
No, I get you. I mean, Netherlands doesn't really have true rivals, though. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like England is like your friend rival.
I mean, England is fine. You know, like we had that little spat with Germany in World War II, but other than that, like that's you know fine now. Like we have a good relationship with Germany, so like we don't really have any proper rivalries as the Netherlands. Like France, maybe.
Yeah,
I guess France.
The thing is, France is probably busy like rivaling England. Everyone's a rival with England.
Well, France
and everyone's a rival with France.
And everyone's a rival with France. Yeah, like they kind of caused so many problems with everyone back in the day. So, I mean, for Sweden and Denmark, it's pretty easy. Just Scandinavia in general. You just want to take over all of Scandinavia.
Of course.
Yeah. It's like we are the true heirs of Jorvik or whatever.
Sure, yeah.
The guy who took over England, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, another way I love to play these games is like I'll pick like a quote unquote backwater country and then try to unite their cultural region. So like if there's like a one tile country in like Northern Africa, I'll try to take over all of Northern Africa as them.
I wonder if like, you know, when you start to pick a leader in this, you know, you pick a starting point, you pick a leader to go and start your dynasty and so on. I wonder if there's going to be clearly overpowered leaders in this, like there are in some of these other games.
That's always the problem they have if they're based on historical things. They're like, well, this guy historically just managed to fight a lot of battles and won a lot, so his stats should be really high. Well, this guy accomplished nothing, so it should be low. But you know,
you say that, but like there are some. I remember in CK3 there was this one tribesman somewhere in like a very small region of Africa that had just insane stat values. That could just like take over almost the entire continent of Africa in his lifetime just because of how insane his stats were.
Hey, everyone likes Statman.
You can pay to
There'll always be something like that, right? Like some forgotten person just like, oh yeah, they happen to have really good, and then bam, they got something like that.
So once their job is done and your just rule has been imposed across the kingdom, then really you just need to disband these guys. Otherwise, they're just going to keep eating, they're going to keep needing payments, and they're going to bleed you dry. So
It seems much more in depth than like any of these games I've ever seen, though.
A ton of like extra detail, which I think a lot of people will absolutely love. Like they like really want to sink their teeth into it.
I mean, if you're really into
can
this type of
imagine
games, you want it to be as
Yeah.
in depth as possible, right?
Yes.
Exactly, yeah. I can imagine it probably feels like fairly intimidating to a lot of players, but that all
Feels
depends if
intimidating
you
to
have a
me,
good-
you know,
Yeah,
because I'm
but
not
if you have,
super
like,
used to
a-
this.
Yeah, if you have a good enough tutorial and it sort of eases you in the beginning, that can help a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I think if you approach these games with the right mindset, like see the big giant red blob on the map, like just play as Byzantium and be okay with dying.
Yeah.
You know, that's another way to learn the game.
There's many things that affect
I think so, yeah.
what you can raise. So
Oh, here we go.
your culture and the land.
Oh,
So this
back
is the
back.
auto
We're
battle
going to do
thing.
the top-down battle.
Here we're seeing
so this
Wales
is the
versus
auto
England.
battle
Yes, the
in
battle
Kingdoms,
playing
I
out
guess.
in Fog Kingdom.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's 3 types of units. Skirmishers, those are the guys with like the little shield and spears, and then you got line infantry, and you got cavalry, and then obviously archers behind the infantry.
Cavalry is protecting the flanks and not doing a lot more here, rather than sort of
Ranged phase. Okay.
shocking into the other side. The way that the battles play out will be familiar to people who know the game well.
Oh, so they
already.
just sort of
This
go
is all playing out
versus things. And then
So are
there's
those
the
their
dice rolls, yeah.
values?
So
Oh, that's the
those-
dice
Things
roll.
like
Okay.
Dice roll. So they have a base rating, and then they have a roll.
Bonuses. Yeah, bonuses as well when you hold over
Yes.
the cavalry.
Like if your leader is really good, your units can like re-roll a dice, or roll a bigger dice, or roll another dice. There's all these cool like interactions.
of a battle based on the value of your troops, their morale as well. I mean, that they, like any troops, they have supply issues and morale issues to some extent.
Yeah, you saw there as well.
Soldiers are
Terrain bonuses.
history
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
So we were saying earlier, like certain things will just
Yeah,
not be
plus
as
one,
good.
yeah.
Yeah.
you can
Yeah,
If
I
you fight in this area, cavalry has an advantage, and so
quite
on and so on.
straightforward. So for
Yep, I remember like the Scottish Highlands were like unbreakable in the original game because you could only fit like 6 units into the province.
on the military side of things,
So they could just like fill it with skirmishers, and they would literally skirmish your empire to death, no matter how many troops you threw at them. Which is kind of true to life, right?
this is perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can choose.
You can.
And if you want, of course, as we already mentioned, you can also play the button if you go to medieval, but we will get to that.
We will get to there, indeed.
So, what's the main difference in terms of how battles are fought and how...
Flanking.
That's what ended in a draw. Okay.
Okay. So you only have I guess you only play out one turn's worth of battle, I guess, and then if you want to continue fight, you fight next turn as well.
Yes.
sense.
I think while they both stand on the same tile, they'll like continuously battle each other, something like that.
Much of it is familiar from last time around, with just a few tweaks here and there.
Sounds cool. All right, so actually, we have some...
Who's talking in the background? That's the stream.
Maybe we can
This is
just
stream
go
that's
over
talking in the background.
a few of them, and then we can do the rest of
We're showing the stream off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Orders, how do they differ from the other nations?
So it's not so much
Honestly, we're
background
not
as it
sure
is the
yet
foreground,
as to whether
really.
you
But
play
yeah.
like the orders.
Call to action.
We
Go check
are
out that link I just
thinking
posted in
about it.
chat.
Right now, they're not playable.
Wishlist
Oh,
the
yeah,
game. Costs you nothing to
mine just-
wishlist.
Their gameplay is very
Mine just
different.
auto-posted when you said that,
Like
so
the
yeah.
orders are interesting
Clickety-click.
because
And clickety wish list and clickety thumbs up and all that stuff, you know the
So some of this is going to be free to play, right? The
So this
Field of Glory.
game, Kingdoms, not free to play.
No.
But the Fields of Glory 2 is free to play. So which is like the one where you fight the actual battles and stuff.
in a sense, because
Yeah, if this interests you, do check it out.
sitting in your kingdom
Absolutely.
and,
No reason not to.
bleeding you dry and taking your gold and eating your food and using all your
If this is your type of game.
Oh, dude, I'm gonna do a series on. I might do a series on Empires. Actually, I think that would be fun to go back and play
Yeah.
that before this comes out.
might not be a day
Just
one
to
thing, I think.
show where it was before the new comes out.
Yeah, partially just to be more familiar with the game and be able to be like, here's why Field of Glory Kingdoms is worth buying.
Yeah. And you could do like a follow-up video with like differences between empires and kingdoms and stuff.
100%.
Oh,
My stream first.
My
yeah,
stream
so.
froze.
Oh, he's back.
Oh dear.
He's back.
Oh,
He's back.
Pick up.
All right, we're good.
He's back. Yeah.
can
It's
you
good that
just
wasn't
explain
just me.
also, sorry, where
Yeah,
you
yeah.
say Venice or England, perhaps?
Well, England, I mentioned earlier. We had, for example, the traits were ruled by two nations that brought specific seafaring benefits, and the idea of the anarchy, where with civil war being much more likely and much more common, but also much less dangerous than it would be in many nations. Venice plays so differently to most countries, because obviously it has very little land. It has some land in what's now Dalmatia and some in what's now Greece, but it's all about building up your commerce and your commercial prowess. They have any number of seafaring benefits.
So, like,
for example,
I wonder if you can just get different types of victory as well, right? Can you just get like I'm gonna use Civ as an example. Can you get like a commerce victory or a cultural victory? Or is it going to be mostly like the other ones where you really want to focus on expanding your territories through
Well,
combat?
I mean,
I
some
don't
games
know,
don't really
actually.
have victory, you know, like you just sort
Yeah.
of play until you reach your own goal, right? So I don't know. There could be maybe
there a
there'll be
victory
like there are
points, yeah.
individual scenarios, like you log in and it's like, or like when you set up the game, you can set like you win, or it comes pre-made with like you win when you conquer,
vassals are,
you know,
they're
Africa
Mm.
or whatever,
a
you know.
very useful thing to have, because they allow you to expand beyond your natural limits without much cost in authority. They will generally do what you ask them to do, but not always. Like everything else run by a nobleman, and they have an awful lot of their own motivations. I mean, the best thing that we have in the game, I suppose, about vassals, and it does differ from empires, is that you can take control of their troops if you need to in a hurry. So it's just like, guys,
you can use
come on,
vassalized
we're-
troops.
we're
like
we're off to Scotland. We've
like a
got
city
work
state
to
in
do.
Civ.
So yeah, I think
They're your
at the
friends
start
or
of
your
the game,
suzerain.
So yeah, in that
Yes.
in that example, yes, you could march north, kind of quickly grab their.
No, Chad, he's not wearing lipstick. Some people just have reddish or pink lips.
Yeah, I know. That always when I'm in character creation and I my lips end up like looking a little bit red, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't like that. Get rid of them. But yeah, some people
indeed,
just
yes.
have.
It is
redder
just
lips
natural.
than others.
Yeah.
It's not just
Yeah.
maritime republics. I think there are certain sort of crusading nation things where sort of crusader-related goals exist. So again, you're not looking to expand everywhere. So yeah, you can play tall occasionally. There's not that many, but they are the exception. But it's where an awful lot of our development work has gone in, has been into making the different factions truly different, rather than Venice, it's just rich and got shit. It's got a very different gameplay style overall, and so if you want to play tall, you have to pick and choose who you want to play as, but yeah, it's there.
Awesome. Right, so let's move on to the next topic. Well, I mean, in the previous video, we took control of one province because we sort of.
Oh, we're on turn 2 now. We've gone on.
Oh, wow.
Control that province.
30 minutes
Right,
in.
it'll be turn 3 by the end. You know?
How do you deal with potential?
Well, I mean, the people in the province aren't going to be happy. Nobody wants the English coming and taking over, do they?
True.
No one wants the English to come in.
There's like
True.
Irish rebel
So
music
true.
playing in the background right now.
Speaking truths, this guy. Speaking truths.
Because everyone wants the Dutch to come in.
Wait, hold on. Not sure about that one.
Well, no, that's definitely true.
Everyone loves the Irish. Come on.
You know, it's National Sweden Day today. So,
Is it?
Just
saying.
Is it actually?
yeah. 6th of June.
Starka Svierke. I forget how to say it already.
Yeah, close.
Sverige.
Svierge.
It's a soft G. It's a J.
Svierge.
They are fed there.
Svierge.
Knekkebröd.
We need to build.
Knekkebröd.
I talked about stewardship buildings earlier, so stewardship and noble.
Oh, there's the holy cities.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimately,
Most pious
Roma,
Christians,
Constantinople.
have to
There's
win the war.
Medina.
Yeah, and Medina and
At
Mecca.
some stage, you are going to need to sue for peace. And that's when.
So so I'm wondering if like
Jerusalem would be all of
like
them.
obviously Mecca is for Islam, right? And
you need to
Jerusalem would be for Christianity in general. But like I wonder if it's like is this before this? I'm bad at history. Like is this before the split of Protestantism versus Catholicism?
Yes.
When
Yes.
did
Yes.
that was much later, wasn't it?
Much later.
Much later.
I was around like
Few hundred years later.
1500-ish or something.
There
I don't know
was
things,
the
but-
Orthodox split already, I think,
Okay, so maybe that's it.
Otherwise,
which is
'Cause
why
I'm just thinking of it in terms of like, oh, you can only have one holy city for your
exactly,
religion,
yes.
and therefore, but that's not really how it was in real life, really.
One of the
So
things
That's
I think
that's
the
still
board
not really how it is.
Yeah.
with kingdoms as well now is we do a lot.
no, that's
to
what I mean.
avoid
That's not
Yeah.
really how it is in real life.
Yeah.
you know,
Like
They're
a
gonna
city
click
can
the-
be very important to
Dude, they're
multiple
exporting the
religions.
Battle exported. Okay, we go. They're exporting the
Okay.
battle to Field of Glory medieval. Select kingdoms battle from the battle menu, compatible, blah blah blah. After completing the battle, start kingdoms, select import battle of sorts. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's cool.
I mean, that
That's
automatically
a cool
launches
plan.
it. All right.
Yeah.
At some stage, you can't keep sending.
That's
soldiers
a really cool
forwards
idea.
because they won't have the supply.
yes, because they basically developed two distinct games, but gave
Yeah.
them like a link.
Not going to be very
Yeah.
effective in battle.
Like imagine
only
if you
like
could.
one, you can play that, you know. So.
Yes, but imagine if you could like take your CK2 battles and load them up in Total War. That's kind of
Yeah.
the
Yeah, the
vibe.
But
idea
that's
behind it.
ultimately what they're going for, right? Like, and honestly, from what we've seen, from what I've seen of the screenshots, Fields of Glory 2 has a bit of a Total War like look to it. I mean, I'm sure there are different ones that actually comes down to it, but it's the same type of moving troops around in groups and from the angle and yeah.
Yep,
I'm
yep.
imagining it's also real time.
Yeah, I mean, just just to explain to everyone watching, Paul was supposed to be here, but unfortunately, he wasn't able to come due to public transportation.
Yes,
So yeah.
that's normally my problem, but this time it's Pope's problem.
Last time,
Ha! Get destroyed by strikes.
But they were
Last two times.
last two times.
Yeah. Well, one strike, one kill.
Okay. Well, here you are now.
Here I am.
Yeah. Another question: are Crusades represented?
Crusades are represented. I don't think we really have very much prepared for today, but yes, Crusade. We've touched on the papacy earlier and how important the papacy is. Obviously, the Pope, if he's concerned about control of Jerusalem, will want friendly Christian nations to win his favour by going towards Jerusalem. And it's not just Crusades either. You know, the flip side of that exists as well. So jihad is very much in the game as well. So holy wars, yes, of course, they're a big part of the game.
Another question: do you propose novelties about declaring war? I suppose it's in referral to empires.
There's certainly something which is new, I think, this time around, which is part of the sort of edict and decision system of things which are offered. You have a number of edicts you can play, almost like cards from a deck, that will be offered to you occasionally at the start of rounds, and you might have
Strategy games have like
ability
become
to,
addicted to card systems.
You will still need to declare.
yeah.
A lot of games have.
It's just I find that card systems is an easy way to do like flavor and variety and randomization that inherently feels better for players because players' brains they understand cards, they understand card decks. So if you get like, oh, let's see what card I pull. I got this one, nice, like that. You inherently understand how that works rather than let's shoot. Oh, I missed. Goddamn random. Okay,
here we
now
go.
we're seeing the battle. This is cool.
So
Excited to see this.
A work in progress. It's fairly early days.
Oh wow.
This is the battle that
Yeah, this is Total War style.
Yep.
And of course,
This is also turn-based. Look at the top. This is still end turn. So it is turn-based here too.
So there, of course.
Indeed, we don't think the Welsh are Anglo-Saxons. Don't worry about that. So you can see the scale of the battle first of all, compared to what we saw in Empires. Just how many more units.
This is a really cool idea.
They sort of
Yeah.
spread out much better.
Because
now.
it just
This is
adds
the,
another layer of dimension to your gameplay and dynasty like feel, right? Like you're going to be a lot more invested in your dynasty and expanding your regions if you can also control the battles yourself.
Yes.
Well, the problem I always have within a game that has auto resolve is that I never trust it. Like when I lose,
It's just
I
a dice
always
roll,
go,
right?
I always
Yeah.
go, that's bullshit or whatever. Like like I'm angry. Like
I
because
would have
feel
won
like
that
it
battle.
wasn't. Yeah, exactly. Which probably I wouldn't, but because I didn't get to see the battle myself, I'm like, come on, you know.
Yeah,
Which is why
I feel the
always
same
like
way.
it when you have the option of
Yeah.
games like this, where like you can begin with auto battle, and then you can see the end result, and then if you don't want to, you can like I'll manually play it or whatever. Like I think that's a good thing to do.
Yes. Oh,
But yeah, in this case, you can also decide like if it's a particular battle that's exciting for you, whatever. Like
Yeah.
I mentioned before, 20 imps versus Goldmine, whatever. But if you're assaulting the enemy in his capital, you want to play that one yourself. So
100%. Oh, that's one thing I meant to say. Like, I love this game has like the tabletop wargaming thing, where like you can group units on like a thing and they move together. So you don't have to click every single unit; they move in formation.
Yeah.
It's such a nice quality of life thing to be able to move units in a formation.
As I say, it's been designed from the ground up to work all the way.
It really does feel like a tabletop setting.
Right? That is what the Field of Glories 2, this game, which I think they're giving for free after something, right? That's what this game is. It's like a tabletop wargamer's like dream game.
well, I think that's I saw that when people talked about it in the Steam reviews and so on, saying like this is one of the best basically attempts at making a tabletop war game into a video game type of thing.
Yes. Although it comes with the same sort of wargame issue of like the big battles do take like
absolutely ages. Yeah,
correct.
That is something you kind of have to be ready for, I think.
Really good commander versus crappy one. So how does it
I feel like in general though, if you like playing these kind of games, you know you're gonna sit down for a few hours. You know.
Yes.
As we mentioned earlier, it's very important who runs your army.
Again, like I don't have a lot of experience in this genre of games. Like my only real experience is CK, you know. But I remember when I was like heavily into that, like I could easily sit down and play for like 9 hours, you know, like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this
and
is
still
a game.
feel like I got
Get into
nothing
it,
done.
You're just into it.
Like,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh, it's one thing you like because you set a goal and then you keep upping that goal. You know.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I want to do this and I meant to do that and this just happened and I should make sure my son has a good marriage and etc. 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 That
Yeah.
could be in my mind like the only clear breakpoints in those games is like when I die and my son take over or whatever. Otherwise, it's so tempting to just keep going.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
My clear breakpoint is when I inevitably look at the clock and it's 3 a.m. and I realize that I've like severely impacted my next day.
Yeah.
I know that feel. I have that with a lot of different types of games.
You were mentioning possibilities on how possibly you could, take care of these loyal vassals. I guess that you might want to send one into battle and make sure he dies.
I like the entire like system of
Very devious.
the moment you move something into marshlands. I'm sure this is common in this type of game, but like you can't see where they are, so you can do like hidden
It's
movements.
hidden, yeah.
Yeah.
I find it interesting though. We're 3 turns in and we haven't fought yet. It's just been movement. You know?
Well, there's been some skirmish damage, which has done yellow damage, which is morale damage.
Oh, I see. Yeah, okay.
Well, what I do know is that if you're
So those are like wounds, if you get me. Like if you imagine like Warhammer tabletop.
when you re-import the battle, he's going to be gone. He's not going to have a loss of authority, and that could have a serious ramification.
Yellow damage is casualties. I thought red damage was casualties, and yellow was more like wounds.
You'd think so. But maybe yellow, like you said, yellow morale, and then red is casualties, which is more like losing individual people, and then ultimately like being eliminated when you've gotten enough casualties.
It's there for a reason. It's there if you want to experience the real Glory complete experience.
Absolutely. I mean, we always said when we
Oh, red is melee casualties.
that it was a bonus for the players.
Oh, okay, so it's separate.
Players who own both, and kind of a fun thing to do. I think we felt it was at first. it's been a question that the community have asked again and again on Discord and on the forum, is kind of where we are with the ability to do this and how it's going to work. So it's clear that it's a very popular feature. It's been a popular feature so far. As I say, we've designed this, right from the start to work seamlessly with Medieval. So hopefully this should be a much improved version of that experience.
It's cool.
One question for before.
Yeah.
Can you assassinate your own king?
Can you assassinate your own king? I don't think.
Can't?
So.
Come on.
Or you maybe can through special decisions.
What if the king is just real bad? You want him to die?
No.
You can indeed through special
Like in
decisions,
Siki,
depending
you just put him in your army and threw
on-
him really bad. It's like, oh no, he's dead. What do I do?
Who could have seen this coming?
Yeah.
Oh.
one fraught with
Wasn't there a similar thing
potential
with
damage,
admirals where you like
We had to retire
you
early.
put someone in charge of an admiral and then you just leave them in like bad water so the boat dies? I feel like that was a
Yeah.
thing. Like they were out of supply with
Because
attrition.
there's the attrition and stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
go and assassinate your king.
Harsh.
It's
Like in Stellaris, you can fire
strong
people at
candidates,
least, you know. You
very
can just
good
like,
reasons
nah, I
to
don't want
do
you
it,
anymore.
but
I guess it's a lot harder to
you
fire a
probably
king.
can do it
You
because
can't
ultimately
really fire him,
as the
so.
king, you're playing as the
I don't know.
nation
Tell that to the monarchy of England. Abdication and all, you know.
Yeah.
Forced
I guess
abdication.
you have to force someone to abdicate, yeah. You can't fire me, I quit, type of thing.
Yeah.
There are so many moving parts, and if you were to ask me how to play the game, well, there's
I think this is a game built for people who feel like Crusader Kings style games, like they didn't do enough to like really let you build an economy and have,
Scratch
like,
that itch.
in-depth- Yeah,
Yeah.
you gotta.
Yeah,
it's like,
exactly. It's like Crusader Kings is great, but a little too simplistic and too many of these like random events. I want to have full control and make a lot of
Yeah.
decisions and so on.
yeah.
And I think there's a space for those type of people out there.
One of the
100%.
best feedback we had from original Empires players was that it was kind of too easy to become an empire. Empires doesn't seem an easy game to me, but I guess some people felt that way. There are
Do you feel that way,
more,
Potato? Too
I
easy to become an empire?
my empire always crumbled and fell like a sack of
it
potatoes.
feels
So
natural, I think, as well.
Fitting.
It feels challenging.
I think those guys that were complaining were power gamers.
Right.
Probably. Well, that's always the problem, right? We're like the biggest fans, the people who play the most, who put the most time into it. They're the most hardcore, so their complaint
Yeah.
isn't always going to match the casuals. So
Yeah.
Casimir.
Here's the thing though, you could always just play the game on like mid to low difficulty and have a great time.
yeah,
Well,
that
I
is
do
definitely
love,
something that I think
particularly
is a lot of
just the
people
way there are so
feel
many
this sort of
different
shame
ways
for
to-
picking
Innate
easy
need to play the
games.
hard mode.
Like I
Yeah.
gotta play it hard. Like I'm
Nazi
I'm
is
no
one of those, for
coward.
example.
Yeah, Nazi
Yeah.
is one of those. Yeah,
There's a
and then he
lot of
plays
work
it and it's a horrible time.
being done.
Yeah.
It's like refuses to go down or something. You had
I
to
like
the horizon.
I like a challenge, but not too much. So I tend to just play on standard or hard. If there's like
I
if there's
default-
an extreme mode, for example, like
Yeah.
I will not pick hard if it is the hardest mode. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
Like, but
you tend to pick like one a little bit below type of thing.
Yeah.
For me,
I
it depends on the
I
game.
standard normal, but it does depend on the game a little bit.
If I'm playing a genre of game I'm really familiar with, I might start on hard and go to extreme. But if I'm playing something I don't know, I'm just clicking on easy and I'm here for the tour.
Yeah. I think there's something to that. Like for some games, I'd argue like some games like Uncharted, Last of Us, that type of thing, that is more about the journey and the experience and so on. I don't think that game is massively improved by having very difficult gunfights, for example. I don't think that helps really.
Yeah.
But I could see why if you're playing like Devil May Cry or Street Fighter or whatever, like you really want to push yourself to be good at
Want the challenge,
combat
yeah.
type of thing. So yeah.
Yes, for
So it all
sure.
depends. And a game like this, I think, unless you're extremely confident, start out super easy.
Oh,
because
if I
you
were to play
absolutely
this,
would want, yeah.
if I were to play this, I would 100% put it on easy for my first
Yeah,
game, and
Oh,
would be
start out by-
unashamed.
like being able to just get somewhere and seeing what's happening. Because otherwise, the thing is like you're like, I'm gonna go in like hard or whatever, and you reading and you're doing all your best, but because it's the first time you're gonna make mistakes, so then everything's just gonna fail and just gonna not feel good because you're not accomplishing anything and you're just gonna not enjoy the game. So.
Dude, I'm just like watching this game and I'm like, I could see myself getting lost in like all these sub menus and decisions.
There's so much. This is seriously complex, yeah.
But like lost in a good way.
To me, someone who is just very, very, unfamiliar with the genre, it's overwhelming, but it is intriguing.
I agree.
Yeah, to me, it's like if I were to look at this immediately and say like, you want to play it? I was like, I don't know about that. But like if I had the time and I'd been like, people had told me like it is really good and it looks good, I'd be up for like starting out and taking it slow, picking a small area, like I'm gonna be, the islands in Sweden or whatever. I'm just gonna play there and go step by step to learn. And just be okay with like, oh, things might not go so well the first time, and then to judge from there, basically.
But it looks really good.
Yeah.
So you can start your life as, for example, as Northumberland.
I think if we were to like rank the three of us, for example, Potato, clearly the person that this game is aimed towards, right?
100%.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah.
Ridian, you are somewhere in between me and Potato, I think, because like you play these type of games a lot more than I do. Yeah.
I see this as a kind of game Ridian would dip the toe into and be like, I spent 4 hours playing this game and it was kind of neat, but I don't know if I have time.
That's the thing. Like, it's kind of a problem, honestly. Like, a ton of really good games come out, and it's not a problem with the game. It's just, like I could really play this, but like, man, I have Diablo, I have Street Fighter, I have Zelda, I have Final Fantasy 16, I have Final Fantasy 14. It's like there's only so many hours in the day, and like this does look like a game that requires a fair amount of time out of you, and so it's gonna have to compete versus a lot of really.
Just freezing again.
But for me,
for a little bit, but
I know for a fact when this game comes out, I'm gonna be like going to bed thinking about it. I'm gonna wake up the next day and like every waking moment that I can put into the game, I'll put into this game.
Yeah, I mean that's. I think those are the type of player. Like I think it's the type of game that really rewards hardcore play. Like really getting into it will get you a lot out of it. It's those type of games that like the more you put in, the more you're rewarded for it. So dabbling in it will. I mean, I'm sure it could be pretty fun to like do a couple of battles and get some. But ultimately, like unless you get really deep into the systems, I think it's going to strike you as pretty overwhelming.
Well, I think the cool thing about this game, I think in Empires there was a lot of like automation, so you could just like click a button and be like, look after yourself to like entire regions of your empire.
That could be handy. So like the first time you said like, I have no idea how to deal with my nobles, so auto, and then you just focus on building buildings and troops or whatever.
Yeah, so you could like, I think you could tell like your sub provinces to be like, choose your own buildings, like, and then you give them like an aside, like, I want you to focus on growth, and then you just walk away. And then you focus on moving your troops and dealing with the political situation. I think so. It's been a while since I played it. But that sort of stuff is fantastic for people who don't like, and even I'm like this. I don't like to sit there and get super deep into every single nitty gritty detail, right?
That's fair.
I love big picture play where I'm like, okay, here's where my empire is. I'm going to develop this region towards like material production and this region towards culture.
Well, I mentioned some of the things that our players didn't like, or indeed did like. We've tried to enhance the anti-snowballing mechanisms, for example. I think one of the biggest things we've tried to address and that people really didn't like in the original game was the building queue, where you were given a list of buildings, and these are the buildings that you can build in each area. And you can re-roll it, and you might like what you re-roll, you might not. People didn't like that, and I understand why that is. And obviously
I actually really liked the old building system.
So this time around, you will be able to choose whatever building you want to build, but at a cost to your authority, which is always ebbing and draining away, of course. And with
so how does this change sound like to you?
Choose wisely, but that feels like one of the most kind of important bits of
just more freedom, or
It depends on how it's implemented. Like, because in the previous game, you would be given like a list of like 5 random buildings that were viable in the province. And it kind of meant that sometimes you're like, oh man, do I want to spend another turn re-rolling to try and get the one I really want? Or do I just build something because I know I'm going to want it like next time? I kind of liked that idea of being presented with a choice. Because in my mind, it was like all of my like local governors are coming forward. They're like, we need to build a coliseum. Another guy's like, no, we need to upgrade the market, you know? And that kind of like little bit of, it also meant that there wasn't like a build order to every province, and that they would all kind of develop organically in their own way with different resources appearing and stuff. I really like the random thing. So
okay, that's fair.
But I'm also super strange when it comes to strategy games. Like, I love dice rolls. I love randomness. Most people who play, like, even Dota, people don't like crits. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Just
I love that
because people
shit.
feel like it's like I did the right thing and I got screwed over because of a random thing. That like it feels like my efforts were not rewarded. So I can understand that. But
as like avid MMO players, one of the main thing that like high-end raiders complain about is the RNG factor of crits. You know,
Yeah.
I had an attempt where, you know, I have a 33% crit chance and I ended up getting 55% of my crits. I had another attempt and I only got 20%. So like the damage difference was massive and there's nothing I could do about it. It's just randomization.
Oh, surely that should be like pseudo-random, right? So that on average...
Oh, it's not pseudo-random. It's
it's
pure random.
True random.
Yeah, which is interesting. Like, that's an interesting choice. Like, because there's value in having it random, but I think for consistency, pseudo-random would like work better. Like the game sort of just decides like over 1,000 instances, we make sure there's at least 333 there, you know, or something like that, which could be done, but.
Wow, okay. Well, how pseudo-random works is like every time you don't crit, your crit chances increased, and every time you crit, it decreases. Yeah. Which I thought is a great way to like, it makes
I think
the
it's
distribution
great,
more chill.
Yeah. No, so yeah, pseudo-random is a good idea when you can do it under the hood in computer or whatever. Like that will save you stuff from, because like if you're playing tabletop RPGs, right? Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, whatever. Like when someone is in a bad crit streak, like it feels horrible. Like when someone just can't get anything done because you just happen to be in that. Like overall, you're still gonna get well, but you just happen to get one where you're rolling 1s and 5s and 3s and 2s like for the entire session. And like over the long run, yeah, that's still fair, but you just happen to get unlucky. So that's the thing, like pseudo-random thing would be good, but that's hard to do like in real life or like on the
with real dice, yeah.
Can't really,
like,
yeah.
Oh, if you rolled below, you're gonna get a +1 on the next one, and there's like, well, I mean, maybe, but that seems weird. And then even the worse, if they get a good roll, you're like, okay, you're gonna get a minus on the next one now. Like you can't say that. That doesn't really work.
I think that stuff works for like bad luck protection, right? But you need to also be very careful where you implement, in like what aspects of a game you implement bad luck protection in.
Yes. One, we had a fight in our D&D campaign recently where the NPC that could attack 3 times a round crit every single round, and he would roll like 4d12 when he crit. It was ridiculous. So I think he one-turned my character because he crit me like from near full health to full dead. He did my entire HP pool. He knocked me to dead and then did my entire HP pool and damage on a roll. It was insane. And so while I think pure random is cool for generating those kind of insane big wow factor moments.
So, Neil, it's been a pleasure. So
I enjoyed it very much. Thank you, Ahmed.
So talk to you soon, guys, and let's go back to Julia.
Oh.
Hey, while they're transitioning, don't forget to click on the link in chat right now. I'm posting it.
We have one of those. This has been a sponsored stream, so thank you very much to Slytherin for sorting us out with that.
100%.
If you think this looks good, make sure you click on the link in chat. You can type
should be in all of our chats right now.
Game, or just wait for the bot to say it, and you can wishlist it and keep an eye on it for the future. Fields of, or rather Field, I keep saying Fields, Field of Glory Kingdoms, which is what we saw today. It has this cool mechanic where you can play the battles in a separate game called Field of Glory 2. So something to keep an eye out on, absolutely for sure.
Field of Glory 2 is free right now.
It is.
Indeed.
So go check that out.
I think that's the plan for Field of Glory 2 going onwards. That is going to be baseline free, and they might add they'll add DLCs and stuff, which I think is a solid business model in general.
And Field of Glory Empires, the predecessor game, if you're interested in checking it out, is on sale for 40% off right now. So do...
Not bad.
51% if you include the DLC for Persia. So you pay an extra €2 and you get to play as Persia with all cool events.
Set in Europe and the Middle East.
But yeah, I think that's it for us.
I think that's it.
All of Slytherin, and now they're talking about Alienware and Pro Labs and Witcher 3, and that's not what we're here for.
That's not what we're here for. I'm swimming away from that.
So we're moving away. We're moving away. Thank you everyone so much for popping in. With that, bam.
Yeah, big podcast. Right, I gotta catch you guys later. I'm gonna
catch you
video.
Thanks for hanging us through this potato, because I think we would have lost without you. Yeah.
Good to have an expert. Good, very good.
Hey man, anytime you want my opinion on a map staring game, give me a shout. If you guys want to cover Shadow Empires sometime,
We'll do.
shout